we move on to talk about Arsenal. Man. Same old Arsenal, huh? Is this, I was very high praising them for that result against Aston Villa. I thought it was a phenomenal result and very impressive what they were able to do away at Villa Park. I was very impressed. But again, with Arsenal, you have to be careful. They have dropped points 1 week later to Brighton, and obviously there will be a level of sympathy. No question about it. And the fact that the red card did change the game. Before the red card, Arsenal did look like the better team. They looked more not cohesive, but their quality just prevailed. They were just looked at a better team against Brighton, and they were up 1-0. But once that red card, in which we'll dive into later, once that silly red card happened, it was it was Brighton that was really the dominant team. No, okay, dominant might be a little bit of a stretch, but it was Brighton that looked the better team. Brighton looked more like they were the ones that were they looked like they were going to be the ones that could get the second goal to get the win. It didn't seem like Arsenal. Arsenal was, sort of hanging on. And look, there's a lot of ways, to start from here. I'll actually like to start from the red card, actually. So Declan Rice, he gets a yellow, previous during the game, he gets a yellow. Okay. He early on in the game, there was a sort of similar situation for Brighton. Arsenal, one of the Arsenal players, I can't remember right now, tries to take a free kick. A Brighton player sort of kicks it out. This is early in the game, kicks it out, and the referee doesn't do anything about it. Partly because it's early in the game. Referees, they don't want to get involved. Well, not they don't want to get involved, but they it's difficult. You don't want to give someone a yellow card immediately into the game and really force them to play with the yellow card for the rest of the game. You try not to get involved when you're sort of in the opening moments in the game. You try to keep it calm, cool, collected. But what the problem is, later on in the start of the second half, sort of similar situation happens. Veltman is trying to, sort of take a quick free kick. Declan Rice sort of gets out of the way. It sort of is jogging past him, and he sort of flicks the ball out to the side. Veltman then goes, in my opinion, he, sort of purposely sort of kicks out at Declan Rice, pretending to go for the ball. And it leads to once Declan Rice sort of gets up from the ground, it leads to a second yellow for Declan Rice. He gets sent off. Look, it is the correct call. That is time wasting. What Declan Rice did, it is time wasting. There was the Declan Rice comments after the game saying it was unlucky because it was kind of in the corner, and they didn't really have a chance to attack from there. Like they weren't gonna, it didn't stop an attack. But look, the rules are the rules, and that's not part of the rules if you're stopping an attack by doing it. In general, you time waste, and that's considered time wasting. You'll get a second yellow. Now there is the inconsistency aspect of it that the referee is getting criticized for, which I don't mind. What I will be saying is Veltman deserved at least a yellow card, because in my opinion there was no, he saw the ball get kicked kind of, and the way he's kicking the ball, he lashes out. That's not the way someone would go approach and take a free kick. I wouldn't say he intended to hurt Declan Rice, but he was definitely going through him no matter what, and it was kind of, in my opinion, pretty unnecessary. You could have just aimed for the ball and sort of hit it off Declan Rice, and it was still, So for me, Veltman deserved a yellow card at least. And then Declan Rice, that was a second yellow. I mean, you cannot, in that sort of, even what happened earlier in the game, that is a second yellow. That is time wasting. You can't argue it. And to be fair to Declan Rice, he kind of took it on the chin after the game. He did acknowledge that, it was a mistake. He talked about how it was unfortunate because, well, because it led immediate. It was in the corner and didn't. That wasn't. There was the chances of that leading to an immediate attack by Brighton were pretty low, but it was very unnecessary and it's something that is stupid to do when you're on a yellow card because what do a lot of professionals say about whenever you're on a yellow, did you give the referee an opportunity to give a second yellow? He gave the referee an opportunity. It's a silly thing to do when you're on a yellow card. It's extremely silly, and it's a critical mistake because with Arsenal battling Manchester City, every point is gonna matter. Every single point is gonna be very detrimental, and this could be the game that they look back on, and Arsenal fans or Arsenal fans, players, whatever, they'll all be saying, this is when we lost the Premier League. Whenever Declan Rice made that critical mistake, and it is an absolutely critical mistake. So for me, it is a deserved second yellow. I think Veltman also deserved the yellow. But for me, there's no real arguing there. And it was inconsistent from the referee, and the referee does deserve to be criticized for that. But Declan Rice deserved the yellow, and I'm not the type of believer that believes in you make a mistake on one side, you should reward the other team on the other side to make up for. I don't believe in that because that's just dumb. That's not how it works in life, But yeah, overall, talking about Arsenal's performance, tale of two halves. It's really hard to be critical of a team in their performance when when they go down a man. We saw, how Newcastle looked against Southampton, newly promoted Southampton at St. James's Park on top when they went down a man. And yeah, look, it's a tale of two halves, and yeah, Brighton, they looked the better team in the second half. If anyone was gonna win it, it was Brighton. They've looked really good under Fabian Hursel. I have to say, Brighton have looked really good. They played some really sharp football. They play with confidence. They play with pace. They have the ability. They have some cute and clever players that can play decent when time and space is compressed. They're a team to not be to not look after. Right now, they're third in the Premier League, which, it's not saying much. It was 3 games, obviously. But 2 wins and a draw is a good start. To keep in mind, you're looking at it before the season. They take on Everton away, United, and Arsenal. That's a pretty difficult start. And to finish with 7 points in that start, they should be very, very impressed with. And keep in mind, this is a manager in Fabian Hursler that hasn't, he's never coached at the top flight level. Period. He was coach of FC St. Pauli when they were in the second division, and then he coached FC Pippensried. I hope I'm saying it right, in one of the lower tiers of German football. So it's a great start for Brighton, and I look forward to seeing them more throughout the season. They're always a team, you kind of look forward to watching as a neutral because they have that exciting element to them, and they still have that with this new manager coming in. So for me, hats off to them. As far as Arsenal, very disappointing result because look, you're at this point of view, you're battling against Manchester City. Every game is critical, especially games at home. And when you're losing games, not because you're losing to a better team, but because you're making, clumsy mistakes like what Declan Rice did that could completely change the game, you can't make those sort of mistakes and beat this juggernaut that is Manchester City. We saw what they've done so far. They've been perfect this season. Erling Haaland has 7 goals in 3 games. You need to take advantage of every opportunity you have, and you need to be very consistent. And again, last season they had a slower start to the season, but slower start to the season for a team competing, and that ended up costing them later on. You can't walk away from thinking after this game and not think, okay, is this one of the moments that's gonna cost Arsenal the league campaign? Critical loss for Arsenal, and yeah, it's very disappointing. is very, very. I'm not disappointed, obviously, because I'm not an Arsenal fan. But if I'm an Arsenal fan, it's very, very disappointed. It's been a rough week for Arsenal, dropping this and then losing Mikel Merino earlier this week in his first training session. That's a rough week for Arsenal. But Arsenal, they've shown to be resilient and they will bounce back. But will it be enough to win the Premier League? We'll see.